that. So since I haven't really elaborated yet, and it is an event I only somewhat recently found out about. I think a few weeks ago, and I wish I talked about it more before. But it's a festival in Moscow with basically a lot of different vendors and live music and stuff like that, which I mentioned later in the interview that I did. But one of the things that it kind of focuses on is spreading awareness of like the medical marijuana movement in Idaho, which is important because apparently in Idaho, and this is something I didn't know until recently, but marijuana is still illegal in like all contexts, which is pretty crazy to me. Like in terms of it's illegal medically and recreationally. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not trying to say it's like stereotype Idaho or whatever. It's not super surprising to me that it's illegal recreationally, but medically, even I was a bit surprised by it. In fact, I think, and this thing we mentioned in the interview, but it was only I think it's one of only like 2 states or something like that where it's illegal medically. So yeah, I mean that, or at least medically and recreationally. So that's something that I was a bit surprised by. I didn't think it would be illegal medically just because I thought there were very few states that still were, but yeah, apparently that is the case. And I think it's kind of important to mention that in the context of the event, because when I'm talking about it, it's not like a weed enthusiast place or whatever. In terms of it's a legal event because it's not like a place to invite people to go and smoke weed and get high and all that in a public setting, because it's apparently also something where like police are there a lot of the time, so it's not like any sort of seedy weird like underground thing. I think that's good to mention because I'm not trying to just do like free promotion or whatever. I'm just saying it because it's important to clarify that. I mean, frankly, I don't even think it's a bad like family friendly environment. I mean, it's better than when like students bring their families over or whatever to like drink at the local bars or whatever for parents' weekend or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like a nice environment. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend this year just because, and I did plan on it originally, just because that was the day I was filming the show, and I mean, I kind of went there knowing it was probably going to run long because I think they said it could run long, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, or I wasn't free until it was over, so I wasn't able to attend all the next year. I plan to, and I'll keep looking at it, but I also was not able to attend in part because I kind of assumed incorrectly, or at first I thought I read it and then I just assumed and didn't check again that it was going to be this coming Saturday, so 2 days from now instead of last Saturday. Partially because 420, but also just because I just thought I heard that. So that's why I waited a while to reach out to talk to anyone, because I wanted to do an interview where I talked to someone about it because it was just an interesting event. And I wanted to kind of know more about it, what it was about, and the thing is, ordinarily, maybe sometimes people wouldn't still want to play an interview like that when it's over now. I mean, we did the interview after it was over, but I'm still going to because I feel like, basically what they're talking about, like what the important things in relation to the event are still relevant. So I did an interview with Arlene Falcon, I believe or not I believe, but Arlene Falcon, who's one of the main organizers for the event. And that was very nice, to grant me some time because I know that it was after the event anyway. So I think some people probably would be less motivated to still talk about it after that, but I appreciate, getting that I was still able to speak to Arlene about it. So I'm going to play the interview I did where we just kind of talked about it, basically what the event is and what it, what they're trying to kind of, bring awareness to. In addition to like what people out in the public can do or should know about the event or the movement of, spreading awareness of medical marijuana. So yeah, and the only other thing I was going to apologize for, because this is the first interview I've done on the show. I think there were the ones from last week, but those don't count. And I haven't done one really yet. And unfortunately, we weren't able to schedule a time to, like, as I said, meet live during the show, which is actually, I'm not going to say unfortunately, that's probably for the best considering that the equipment wasn't really working the best last time I tried to do something like that. So it's for the best actually we spoke after the show, or not after the show, but like not during the show. So I pre-recorded it, and I apologize that the audio quality isn't as good as it could have been, just because I had a few different methods of recording at once that I was trying to do, just to make absolutely sure that I got it. And one of them was I had like a software on my phone recording it, but it didn't. I went back to check and didn't really work. The quality just was not good at all. So I played another version where it was off of my computer while the phone call was going that I recorded. And it's like, you can hear it, I think, fine, but it could have been better. So, yeah, I'm going to play the interview now. So this is me speaking to Arlene Falcon, who was I don't remember her exact title, but one of the main organizers involved with Moscow Hemp Fest. So yeah, take a listen. So the first question I was wondering is just for people who are going to be listening, if that's all right. Would you mind giving your name and title in relation to Moscow Hemp Fest?
My name is Arlene Falcon, and I'm the main organizer of the Hemp Fest since 2006.
Since 2006? Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
just to check, how did you originally get involved with Moscow Hemp Fest?
Well, I make and sell tie-dye clothing at my shop, tie-dye everything, and I had been a vendor for the Moscow Hemp Fest in the early days, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and then from 2006, that was the year that I didn't see any flyers or any notification about the Hemp Fest, and I talked to a guy who kind of would organize the music, and that happens to be Eric Gilbert. He's the guy who runs Treefort, that great music festival in Boise right now. But anyway, he used to live in Moscow, and he said, well, I have all the bands lined up, and I said, well, maybe I'll see if I can round up some vendors, and we shook hands, and that's how I started doing the Moscow Hemp Fest, being in charge of it.
Okay, well, thank you. And you had actually mentioned that, and I thought this would be a good question since I wanted to ask as well. Would you mind naming a few of the vendors who attended this weekend, and if there are any, I guess I'd say regular vendors, since this is a yearly event, who have attended before?
Well, yeah, we had between 40 and 50 vendors, and so there's a lot of arts and crafts vendors and people who make things with crystals and crystal wrapped rocks and different things. And the food vendors included the Battleground food truck, Sushi Man had his food there, and every year we've had this bus that comes down from Sandpoint, Jupiter Jane's taco bus, and she serves food out of her big old bus, and that was there. And Mariana's Tamales, they're always at the farmer's market. She was serving tamales there, and then we had someone with mini donuts, and we also had a new food vendor called Smoke Ring, and they brought their cooker, and they had brisket and chicken on the grill. So we had a nice variety of food and good variety of different arts and crafts vendors, and it used to be populated with a lot more glass vendors in years past, but lately, since it's more easy to get these things, we don't have as many glass vendors coming to the fair. We had a few, and then I have my tie-dye clothing. I've been at the fair since the early days, and so that's just a few of them offhand.
Okay, well, thank you. And you had mentioned actually right at the beginning that Moscow Hemp Fest yesterday went pretty good. It was a good day. So yeah, I just thought it would be a good idea to just check. Like, yeah, yesterday was pretty good. A good amount of people showed up.
Oh yeah, we had the weather on our side. It was just such a beautiful day, and people came out to the park to play and enjoy themselves. And since it was such a beautiful day, people weren't leaving the park or anything. They were sticking around and playing hacky sack in the back or slaying in the sun and enjoying the music and enjoying the people and just the good energy. And so we really lucked out this year. We haven't had, it was well attended, and we haven't had such a well attended and great weather fair for years. A lot of my friends were saying this is like before the pandemic, because it took a while after the pandemic we had smaller fairs, and so this is the first fair since 2020 since 2019 that was really well attended and enjoyed by many. But the weather was on our side, that's for sure. Last year it snowed at the end of the fair. By the end of the day, it had been kind of cold and windy all day, and by the last band was playing, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's snowflakes in the air. And the next morning when we woke up, there was 5 inches of ground on the snow by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And so we were very glad we didn't have weather like that.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. Since I know it seems pretty it seems since I've been here, at least in the like Palouse area near Moscow, that at least once every April it seems it snows. So yeah, you have to really get lucky with that. It seems like.
Oh yeah, it's quite the crapshoot. You never know what you're gonna get. You just have to hope for the best, and we sure did luck out this year.
Right. Well, that's good. That's good to know. I noticed the weather yesterday as well, and yeah, it was really nice. So that's good. I was wondering also. I was looking at the website, and the mission statement is on the website, which is and obviously you know it as well. But I'll just read it out loud for people who won't be looking at the website right this minute, which is the mission of the Moscow Hemp Fest is to provide information about the hemp and cannabis movement. We are also advocates for medical marijuana in the state of Idaho. So I live in Washington, but pretty close to Idaho, so I'm not super familiar. So would you mind kind of saying basically what Idaho's current laws are that you know of in terms of marijuana usage and how
Well,
kind of according to the mission statement, it would be how you'd like that to change?
well, we're only one of two states in the country that has absolutely no pro medical marijuana or recreational on the books. Every other state has something, at least decriminalizing using pot and allowing people to use it medicinally. And in the state of Idaho, we're still in the dark because the legislators don't understand that this is powerful medicine and that we need to get on with the times here. The states that have it are doing some really good things with all the tax money they're getting from the recreational pot stores and whatnot. But so we've had many petitions over the years. When I took over the Hemp Fest, there weren't that many. There was very little going on. But after I started getting the Hemp Fest be a little bit more politically oriented by having Tom Trail, who's been a pioneer for medical marijuana and hemp. He was a legislator in Idaho, a Republican legislator from Moscow, in fact, but he was very much pro medical marijuana and hemp in the legislature for a long time. And after he spoke one year at the Hemp Fest, it got some people a little bit more interested, and Boise started holding a Hemp Fest to make people more aware of the positive aspects of using medical marijuana for medicinal purposes, not just recreational purposes. And so we've had many initiatives since then, and we've taken a stand to try to get people to so we can get medical marijuana on the books, and you need to get 55,000 signatures statewide to get an initiative on the ballot, and we have not been successful in getting enough signatures year after year with these darn petitions, and it's very frustrating, and there's still stigma attached to signing the petition and being pro-cannabis. It's just crazy here in these times. But so to that end, we're trying to educate people about destigmatizing using pot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's kind of crazy that, in this day and age, especially considering like all we know medical, not even just for recreational use, but for medical use, even that there's still such a stigma attached to it. But
Yeah.
But I appreciate you going over it because that actually leads into something I'd wanted to ask about, which is for people maybe who even attended a Hemp Fest yesterday. I was wondering if there's anything that they can do, just people in the general public, to kind of help with this cause. You mentioned a little bit there, but if there's anything else you'd like to say about that to just give you the opportunity.
Well, mostly we'll be by the time we have Hemp Fest next year, we'll have another petition probably. And so I would always encourage people, you have to be an Idaho resident to sign these petitions and to take the stand. And so to just learn about those things, but like I said, that you have to be an Idahoan. And so when we have a new petition or a new initiative drive, we'll be getting it out to the public and asking people to sign. And so we hope people step up and sign, and maybe we can get this petition on the book so we can vote for it here in Idaho.
Right. Well, yeah, that's good to mention now just ahead of time that people people know what they can do to take part in the movement who are interested. I was wondering, so just a few other questions,
Yeah.
and that kind of ties into what you mentioned. Actually, ties into it. I would assume so, considering that this last one was, if I'm not mistaken, the 27th annual one. At the moment, you do hope and plan that there will be a 28th annual Moscow Hemp Fest in 2025.
Yes, we're hoping so. And like I said, we're hoping there'll be another petition. And in the past, it's always coincided with U of I Family Weekend before it was U of I Mom's Weekend. And but over the years, see, I took it over because the students who had been doing it, it was always student run, and the students who were doing it, there was such great turnover. By the time 2006 came around, it was like maybe 10 years old or so. There were no students left that had the energy to do it, so that's why a community member took over. And so the connections with the university have slimmed down over the years. And so we don't have as many students coming with their parents as they used to in the past. And when I mentioned it to some parents and families that I saw, they definitely thought, oh, I couldn't take my parents there. So I might not do it in conjunction with U of I Family Weekend or not anymore. We'll see. But we will still have another Hemp Fest next year. And the date will either coincide with U of I Families Weekend, or it'll just be closer to 420, because people were wondering why it wasn't on 420, since that seems to be an appropriate date.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. And actually is kind of a good point when it comes to, I guess I'd say, not having it, relying the date on a UI Family Weekend. Although, for the record, it is probably better that students and families would attend Moscow Hemp Fest than go to one of the bars in the areas and just get completely wasted or something like that. So, but I understand though the point that you were making when you were talking about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it is definitely a family friendly event. You're not allowed to smoke in the park, and so it's not like there's any illegal activities going on. It's mostly information and advocacy and fun.
Right. And yeah, that's something I think important to emphasize as well that I don't think I mentioned or gave you the chance to mention earlier, which is that it's not, because of Idaho state law, there's nothing breaking the law or anything like that. I think some people might wonder if there is any sort of, considering that marijuana is not legal for any usage in Idaho, if there's any sort of problem with that. It's nothing, nothing like that. It's abiding by all the laws and the rules there.
Yeah, and we've gotten very little. The cops really have not harassed us over the years, and there's a low cop presence because they realize that we're just gathering and that we're not doing anything illegal.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I'd read even on the website that it had mentioned that the police, are in attendance, and it's not that they're there in part to make sure that there's no one breaking the laws in terms of selling or using marijuana illegally or anything like that. Right. Okay, well, thank you then for mentioning that point. And I think just one other question that I had wanted to ask is, I just wanted to ask if there been anything else you would like to say about Moscow Hemp Fest, or just any of the subjects that I had asked about, to just give you the opportunity to mention anything that you would like to mention.
Oh, I might have forgotten to say that we've got great music all day long. I use this as an opportunity to showcase local bands playing, and I get some bands coming from Spokane and whatnot, but mostly I try to give local bands an opportunity to be on a big stage, and so it's a lot of fun to give local bands this opportunity. And we had yesterday we had 7 or 8 music acts, and so we had opened up with Bill Lavoy, who used to be in a band called Corn Mash, and he's a local musician, and then we had another local band called Yellow Dog Flats. They're going to be playing at Rendezvous in the summertime. And then we had a local band called Moscow Mules, and some of the members of that band play Grateful Dead music. So we had a Moscow Mules Grateful Dead Dead set, and then we had another bluegrass band called The Pond, and we had another band with Andrew Gomez. He used to work at Birch and Barley, and now he's got a band called Holy Jose. Oh, I don't remember what the name of his band is. Something Jose and the Herders or something. And then the 2 bands that we had from out of town was the Jason Perry band, which is really good. He used to the Bees live here in Moscow, and then we also had another band called Snacks at Midnight, and they played John's Alley quite a bit. And then we ended the show with a local band called Solid Ghost. So we had excellent music, and that really creates a great vibe when the music is so great. So I should mention that besides all the food that we had great music and all those great vendors.
All right, and that was the interview I had done with Arlene. Thank you for being able to speak with me, Arlene, a few days ago. I appreciate that, and I hope the audio levels weren't too bad in the interview because I was trying to kind of I guess adjust it in real time, just in terms of I wasn't exactly sure how well you'd be able to hear it over the radio because that was my backup recording source. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the main one, but hopefully we're able to get most of that. I mean, according to like my calculations here, I guess that's what we want to call it. You should have been able to get most of that. So you hope that was all right. And so for any of those, I don't remember if it was said directly in the interview earlier, but for those interested, the website is MoscowHempFest.com. Even though the next one is next year, unless I'm mistaken. So I know. I mean, you have to, I guess, be planning in advance for attending the next one. I do plan to attend the next one. It's just because of the filming, I wasn't able to attend the one on Saturday. But if anyone would like to take a look. And hopefully we'll be able to discuss. I mean, just because I plan to interview more people, maybe I would speak to Arlene again beforehand. The Hemp Fest for next year. So hope you enjoyed learning a little bit from it. I thought it was a pretty informative interview. I learned some stuff about the event, and I hope you did as well. So that was basically the extent of the second discussion segment. I just wanted to say thank you again for making the time, and hope you appreciate hearing that.